Rex Stout's Nero Wolfe. Starring Mabel Moore as Nero Wolfe and Don Franks as Archie Goodwin. Today's episode, Murder is No Joke, with special guest stars Joy Coghill, Lonnie Griffin, Richard Monette, Vivian Reese, and Murray Westgate.
Coming right up now is Alec Gallant's stunning new cocktail gown, 3/4 length in chartreuse taffeta. Doesn't Wendy look sensational in those slashed sleeves with the white accent cuffs? Another brand new innovation by Alec Gallant. The coat is a separate piece, and you can take it off if you like. And there's Wendy looking just a wee bit cooler. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Alec Gallant, for that.
I'd never been to a fashion show before, and it's downright embarrassing. Nero Wolfe had sent me to do a job of investigation, but between deciding whether the models are showing off the dresses or vice versa, it's damn near impossible to keep your mind on your work. My instructions were to get a line on a new client named Flora Gallant before she came to see him. And she'd represented herself as the sister of Alec Gallant, the hot new designer. Wolfe told me to pick up whatever I could. But I don't think he meant one of the models, or the reporter beside me who was crossing her legs for my benefit. Oh, and it was, too.
Whisper of indiscretion to the waist. What else but pure silk could shape your lovely legs in such high catching folds? Watch the turn. Isn't she a vision? It's the kindest cut of all you get from Alec Gallant. Now watch the dip. Thank you, Rita.
Rita was pretty good. Oh, but the MC was no dog either. Gold ribbon mold and frame, she moved like music. My program identified her as Emmy Thorne, Director of Public Relations. I wondered about her private relations. She spoke to a gent who looked like Lord Byron, but was probably Alec Gallant himself, and he turned and spoke to a dumpy female on his right. I asked the reporter beside me who Dumpy was. It was like I'd started a tape. Dumpy was the vice president, and her name was Flora Gallant. And did I know she was Alec Gallant's sister, and the story of how they got to... Oh, to hell with the models. I took the reporter to lunch.
I must apologize for asking such an important man as you, Mr. Wolfe, to give up your valuable time to listen to me and my troubles. I want you to understand.
It would take less of my time, Miss Gallant, if you'd simply tell me what your troubles are.
Yes, but you see, I do not expect anything for myself. The trouble is about my brother. You know who he is.
Yes, Mr. Goodwin here has informed me. An illustrious dressmaker.
Oh, he is not merely a dressmaker. He is an artist, a great artist. It is his trouble, so I must be careful with it. I come to you because I know that although you and Mr. Goodwin are private detectives, you are gentlemen.
They are not mutually exclusive, madam.
Well, I meant that I know I can trust you.
Yeah, you may.
Mr. Goodwin.
Right, whatever Mr. Wolfe says. I only work here.
Thank you. I must explain that in France, where my brother and I grew up, our name was not Gallant. I came to this country just before the Second World War. My brother just after it. He entered legally under his new name of Gallant, and within 7 years he had made a reputation as a designer. You are not much interested in fashion.
Not particularly, but go on.
Oh, but of course you are not married and you have no mistress. And feeling the way you do about women, how could
We were to discuss your problem, I thought.
I'm sorry. My brother got financial backing and opened his place on 54th Street.
Yes. And since then, it's been one triumph after the other. I know. Please get to the point.
Yes, triumphs. I will not say I had a hand in them, but I have been trying to help in my little way, and so have many others. But now we get to the trouble. The trouble is a woman called Bianca Voss.
Madam, I am not in the habit of accepting cases of romantic entanglement.
Oh, no, not an affaire d'amour. I am sure of it.
Well, that's fortunate.
My brother has never married, but he is very healthy about women. I will confide in you that he has une amie intime, a young woman who works in the firm. Bianca Ross cannot attract him in that way.
Good.
She came first here from Europe a year ago. He expected her, so he must have met her somewhere.
I see.
He designed things for her, but no bill was ever sent. Then he gave her one of the offices on the 3rd floor, and she started to come in every day. She began to take over, and my brother let her. She has a private telephone, which no one else has, hires and fires employees, and pokes her nose into everything.
It sounds as if she owns the business. Perhaps she bought it.
No, she has not. If she had a financial interest, why would she be trying to ruin a business that has always made a profit? My brother has the controlling interest, but he seems to be prepared to let her ruin it, and we do not know why.
Well, why don't you ask your brother?
I have. He will tell me nothing. A month ago, some of the others persuaded me to try to find out where she stands. I decided to come to you, Mr. Wolfe. I want you to ruin her.
Really? How? By wiggling a finger, madam?
No, but you can. She has some hold on him. Find out what it is. If she is blackmailing him, isn't it against the law? Would that not ruin her?
It might. It might ruin him, too.
Oh, I am trusting you. You would not tell. Only make her stop.
I fear, madam, you're biting off more than you can chew. A prolonged investigation here, perhaps abroad, would be laborious and extremely expensive, aside from my fee, which would not be modest, with the outcome highly uncertain.
My brother, Mr. Wolfe, is a generous man.
Yes, but he isn't hiring me. Now, if your brother himself were to consult me, if you brought him in...
No, impossible. I told you. But if he were released from her, I assure you, Mr. Wolfe, she is a true villain. You are a clever man. You would know it if you saw her or spoke with her.
Perhaps.
I cannot ask her to come for you to speak to her, but you can. You can tell her you have been asked in confidence to discuss something with her, and she will be afraid not to come, and that alone will show you she has guilty secrets.
Well,
Here, in this envelope is $100. For you, nothing. But it will show you that I am in earnest. For one phone call.
Worth $16, Mr. Wolfe, after income tax.
I know that, Archie. Well, Miss Gallant, where is Miss Voss?
At my brother's firm. She always is.
Give Mr. Goodwin the phone number.
I'll get it. She may be downstairs.
No, use my phone. Mr. Wolfe's is for him.
Oh, very well.
This Miss Voss sounds like a difficult customer.
I've no idea what she sounds like. I haven't heard her yet.
Very funny.
Doris, this is Flora. Is Miss Voss around? Oh, I thought she might have come down. No, don't bother. I'll ring her there.
Well?
She's up in her office. I'll get her. Miss Bianca Voss, hold the line, please. All right.
Thank you. Get on the other line, Archie.
Check.
Hello, this is Nero Wolfe. Are you Miss Voss?
Yes. What do you want?
If my name is unknown to you, I should explain.
I know your name. What do you want?
I want to invite you to call on me at my office. I've been asked to discuss certain matters
Who
with you.
asked you?
Well, I'm not at liberty to say.
What matters?
If you'll let me finish. The matters are personal and confidential. That's all I can say on the telephone. I'm sure you understand.
I know your name, yes. You are scum in your stinking sewer.
What?
A slimy little ego in your big gob of fat.
Oh.
And you dare... Oh!
Hello? Hello? Hello, Miss Voss. Are you all right? Miss Voss. Nothing.
That's interesting. Apparently something fell on her, and then, hung up the phone.
What? What?
Miss Gallant was present in body, but absent in mind. So I had to look up the number of Alec Gallant Incorporated to get the switchboard again. When I did, I told the receptionist to whip upstairs and see if Miss Voss was okay, that I'd just been talking to her and she was in some kind of trouble. She put me on hold. It was 9 minutes by my watch before someone picked up the line again, and this time it was a man.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Carl Drew. What is your name, please?
Watson. John H. Watson. Is Miss Voss all right?
May I have your address, Mr. Watson?
Well, Miss Voss knows my address. What's happened?
I must have your address, Mr. Watson. Miss Voss is dead.
What?
She was assaulted in her office while she was on the phone with you, according to our receptionist.
What?
And I must insist on having your address.
Why did you hang up, Archie?
Miss Gallant, who is Carl Drew?
Come, madam, pull yourself together.
He is the business manager. What happened?
Bianca Voss is dead in her office.
Oh.
He said she was assaulted, but he didn't say with what or by whom.
Well, Miss Gallant, it seems someone else has done your dirty work.
Oh, no. No, it is impossible.
I'm only quoting your Carl Drew.
But how?
Here, Miss Gallant, your money.
No.
Now, take it, confound it, take it back.
No.
After all, Archie, we're star witnesses, and it'll be our next if Inspector Kramer thinks we got paid for it.
Of course, I appreciate it, Mr. Wolfe. Saves me a lot of time and trouble. There are 7 John Watsons in the New York phone book.
As well, Mr. Kramer, as Sherlock Holmes' famous assistant. A clue that might have led you to my assistant, Mr. Goodwin.
Terrific.
Oh, yeah, I thought so, too.
But I don't play games, Goodwin.
Oh, no, sir. That's why I typed up the verbatim report. Everything we said and Miss Gallant said, the voice said, what you've just read there.
As you can see, we both signed it.
Yeah, I noted that. So it was 11:31 when you heard the blow.
We heard no blow.
No.
Identifiably. Perhaps when you've had a chance to read the report more carefully.
Try page 4.
Okay. You heard a groan and a crash and rustles, whatever that is. Yeah. But I'm telling you there was a blow. She was hit on the back of the head with a chunk of marble, a paperweight. And a scarf was tied around her throat to stop her breathing. But you didn't hear the blow.
Not to recognize it as such. No, Inspector.
No.
Okay. Now, this implies that Flora Gallant was a complete stranger to you, that you'd never spoken to her or her brother or any of the people at that place. Is that true?
The implication is valid, except as related in that statement, of course. Nor has Mr. Goodwin spoken to them, Archie?
Right, Mr. Wolfe.
Okay. Then you never heard Bianca Voss's voice before, and you couldn't recognize it on the phone.
Naturally not.
And you can't hear it now since she's dead, so you can't swear it was her talking to you.
Obviously.
Okay. Now, if it was her talking to you, she was killed at 11:30. There are 4 important people in that organization, you should know, who had it in for Bianca Voss.
Oh, as usual, Inspector, you worked with dispatch.
They admitted it. Besides Flora Gallant, there is Anita Prince, head fitter, been with Gallant 8 years. Emmy Thorne, public relations head, been with him 4 years. Carl Drew, the business manager, been with him 5 years. None of them could have killed Bianca Voss at 11:30. From 11:15 on, until a call came from one John H. Watson.
Well, I'm really sorry about that, Inspector.
Yeah. Carl Drew was down on the main floor in view of several customers. From 11 on, Anita Prince was in the top floor workshop with Alec Gallant, with 2 models and a dozen employees. At 11:20, Emmy Thorne had an appointment with 3 men till 11:45, all airtight.
It's very neat.
Yeah, too damn neat. Of course, there may be others who wanted Voss out of the way, but as it stands now, those 4 are all in the clear.
Why not 5? Alec Gallant himself.
Okay, 5. They're all in the clear, including him, if she was killed at 11:30. But suppose she wasn't.
What?
Suppose when Flora Gallant phoned her from here and put you on, it wasn't her at all. Somebody pulling a stunt with a phony voice and all those noises to make you think you heard a murder at that time.
Oh, yeah. With the corpse there on the floor.
Well, why not?
Then you're no better off, Inspector. Who did the impersonation? You say they've all got alibis for 11:30.
It could be someone else, easy enough.
Such as who, Archie?
Well, there's lots of women around there. Someone who wouldn't commit murder but might be willing to help cover it up.
Whoever did it is an accessory. Don't forget that.
Oh, it's very tricky, Mr. Kramer. If Flora Gallant killed her, it must have been planned as carefully as a coup d'etat. She phoned here last week to make an appointment for 11 this morning. She came on time, didn't she, Archie?
Right on the dot, sir.
Well, then, did she first kill Miss Voss in that lady's office, station some accomplice beside the corpse to answer the phone, then rush down here and maneuver me in a matter of minutes into ringing Miss Voss's number? Am I so simple?
That's one thing you aren't, Wolf. Look, I didn't say it was Flora Gallant who killed her. Oh, hell, I know it's tricky. It could have been any of them. I'm bringing it up because you two heard those sounds, not me.
Ah, you want to know if we're satisfied if those sounds were authentic.
Or if they might have been faked. Just maybe.
Yes, of course. Right, Archie?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't really help you, Mr. Kramer. If they were bogus, they were well executed. At the time, hearing them, I had no suspicion they might be flummery. Archie?
Oh, I pass. As the report says, they're on page 4.
I got it. I read it. It's not what you say, it's what you don't say.
Well, my guess is she dragged the phone along as she went down, and it struck the floor.
Okay, but were you convinced it was real? Was it happening then?
Well, something was sure as hell happening then, and look, a chunk of marble hitting a skull wouldn't make much noise anyway. Besides, if she was killed earlier, couldn't the doctor tell?
With blood, he might have, but there wasn't any.
Well, is that your impression, Archie, that it might, or might not, have been actuality?
Well, there is one more thing. I mean, what about the layout? Whoever did it, whenever they did it, they must have left right away, and with all those people around.
Oh, the place is a rabbit warren.
That's right.
A front entrance, a separate door to the offices upstairs, a side door, a back door, 3 different elevators.
It's like wide open.
As a barn door.
I knew you'd say that.
Okay. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Mr. Wolf, let's have it in plain language. You thought those sounds you heard were open to question or not?
Not intrinsically. Circumstantially, of course.
You and your gorgeous words, just like your orchids. Well, I'm on my way. I don't like gags about homicide. Murder is no joke. But I want to tell you, Mr. Wolf, Bianca Voss had you wrong. What was it she called you?
Scum in a stinking sewer.
Yeah. Well, obviously she doesn't know you. Orchids don't smell.
You know, Archie, I'm beginning to think this joke may be on me.
Next morning, I was eating breakfast in the kitchen with the Times propped up in front of me, reading about the Bianca Voss murder. It included mention of John H. Watson, but never identified him as yours truly. Kramer was obviously playing it close to his well-stuffed vest. But just as Fritz served the eggs Benedict, I saw another item on page 1.
Coffee with the eggs, Archie?
Yeah, thanks. Fritz, you ever see an actress named Sarah Yair?
What movies has she been in?
Oh, no, she was too good for the movies. She was a stage actress.
Oh, well then.
I saw her 3 times in Strange Interlude. She was fantastic. Only time I ever wrote a fan letter was to her. Last night, Sarah Yair committed suicide.
Was it a gun or poison?
Cyanide in a glass of bourbon.
Terrible. Unless it was very bad bourbon, how could she take it?
She was an alcoholic, Fritz. She'll drink anything. What a way to go, eh?
Was it at home, Archie, or somewhere else?
Huh?
I always feel better when they do it at home.
It was at home, it says here. If you call a lousy flat on East 13th a home. Oh, she must have slid a long way down. I wonder if it was really suicide.
Well, of course, Archie. It's in the Times, isn't it?
Times this morning, Archie.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I let you get to the office before me, but you're early. What's the emergency?
Oh, no emergency.
But you can't... How'd you get that phone book?
Walked over to your desk, lifted it up, walked back to my own, and sat down. I knew no other way.
Well, why didn't you wait for me?
Because I needed to know a number.
Oh, can't I get it?
No. I have instructions. You will go to Alec Gallant Incorporated on 54th Street and speak with Mr. Gallant, his sister Flora, Miss Prince, Miss Thorne, and Mr. Drew, separately if possible.
Now?
Now. You will tell each of them that I've engaged you to make inquiries about Miss Sarah Yare.
Sarah Yare?
And that I shall be grateful for any information they may be able and willing to furnish. I'd like to see any communications they've received from her in, say, the past month. Oh, don't raise one eyebrow like that. You know it disconcerts me.
I've never seen you disconcerted yet. What do I say when they ask me who engaged you to work for Miss Yare? Everybody knows the lady's dead.
That you don't know. You're merely following my instructions.
Uh-huh. If I ask you who engaged you, what do you say?
I tell you the truth. I have engaged myself.
Oh.
I think I may have been hoodwinked by a very skillful actress, and I intend to find out.
You mean Sarah Yare
You may be fishing where there are no fish. They may all say they've never had any association with Sarah Yare. And they may be telling the truth, or they may not. If any of them acknowledge knowing her, try to find out the degree of intimacy, but don't labor it. That can wait until we bait a hook. All I want to know now is, are there any fish in that particular pond?
Okay. I'll look up that number for you.
No, you will not. I can at least read. Get out.
Alec Gallant Incorporated was no palace, inside or outside. There was a show window, but all it had in it was a swatch of black fabric against dark green. I went in. Everything inside was dark green, too. Wall-to-wall carpet and wall-to-wall walls. No racks, no dresses, nothing to buy. Only mirrors and screens and tables and chairs and a few ashtrays. And a couple of customers who obviously had all day to flip through the design books. And a dapper salesman in a foreign hand. I picked on him.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gallant is not available. What is it you want?
Look, I'm not a reporter, or a cop, or a lawyer drumming up trade. I'm a private detective named Archie Goodwin, sent by a private detective named Nero Wolfe to ask Mr. Gallant a couple of questions. Harmless questions, nothing to do with Bianca Voss. I read about that.
Mr. Gallant is not available.
You wouldn't... May I ask you if you are Mr. Drew, Mr. Carl Drew?
Yes, I am.
Then I'm in luck. I was instructed to see 5 different people here, including you. Could we sit down somewhere, please?
I don't, as a rule. See, it's about what?
To get information, if you have any, about a woman who died yesterday.
Now, look...
Not Bianca Voss. I'm talking about Sarah Yare. She died yesterday, too, you know.
Oh, yes. That was tragic.
Yes, it was.
What sort of information? Is it Mr. Goodwin?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I wish I knew. All I know is somebody has engaged Mr. Wolfe to make inquiries about her. Any messages or letters in recent months. Maybe if you could let him see them, or...
That seems a little... Who engaged him?
Oh, search me. Maybe if you'd like to know before you show him anything, Mr. Wolfe would tell you.
I have no messages or letters.
You mean recently?
Ever. I doubt if she ever wrote letters. She always did everything by phone.
Well, not letters about clothes. Mr. Wolfe's looking for personal letters, and he thought maybe you'd known her well enough personally.
Well, I didn't. She was a very fine customer here for a couple of years, and she was a very private person. But she hasn't been around in over a year, and I never had a personal letter from her. Now, if...
thanks. I'd appreciate it if you'd tell me when Mr. Gallant will be available.
Please wait here a moment.
So, that was one fish. I had to resist the temptation not to play him on the line, but Wolfe had said not to labor it, and I only disobey him when I know better. Carl Drew made a phone call and came back.
Mr. Gallant is in his office with Miss Prince, and we'll let you have 5 minutes, Mr. Goodwin. This way, please.
Another fish. I'm sure Drew must have told Gallant what my line was, or why did I even rate 5 seconds? By the time I got through the pin-up paradise on the second floor, nudes to the right of me, nudes to the left of me, I understood the way designers have to master subjects like the female anatomy. The insight was so blinding that I didn't notice until Carl Drew had left that I was in the presence of Lord Byron himself, with Mona Lisa in tweeds perched on the table beside him.
Now, Mr. Goodwin. Mr. Goodwin, what is all this about Sarah Yare?
Just a couple of questions, Mr. Gallant, and thank you for seeing me. And you too, Miss Prince.
Please, let us skip the hors d'oeuvres.
Check. I suppose Mr. Drew explained to you
He
about...
said the detective, Nero Wolfe, is making an inquiry and sent you. That's all.
That's right, Miss Prince. What are you smiling at?
She can't help it. She smells it live. Very well. An inquiry about what? How Miss Yard died?
I don't think so, Mr. Gallant, but I'm just an errand boy on this trip. I'm to ask you if you got any messages or letters from her in the past month or so, and if you'll let Mr. Wolfe see them.
My God, this is too much.
What?
A woman was assassinated here yesterday. Don't you know that?
Yes.
Of course you do. And after that calamity comes another, as always. The death of my old and valued friend, Miss Yare. In mold and frame, she was perfection. In movement as music. In friendship, completely pure. I never had a letter from her. Send them away, Anita.
You gave him 5 minutes, Alec, and he's only had 2.
Thank you.
Mr. Goodwin, who has hired Mr. Wolfe?
Well, search me. He'll probably tell you if you have any of what he wants.
I had no letters. I had no personal relations with Miss Yare. Mr. Gallant preferred to fit her himself.
Oh.
It seems odd that Nero Wolfe should be starting an inquiry immediately after her death, or did he start it before?
Well, first I knew he gave me this errand this morning. Well, this noon.
You don't know much, do you?
No, I just take orders.
But you do know that Sarah Yare committed suicide.
Name of God, must you? Send him away.
She didn't need to send me. I went. Because Gallant had picked up a marble ashtray and was about to send it at my head. In fact, I ran down the hall until I was stopped by the sound of a voice I recalled from a fashion show coming from an open office. It was Emmy Thorne, the MC, doing her PR work. I decided to investigate and had stepped in before I noticed the room's other occupant.
Good one, for the love of God.
Hello, Sergeant.
You. Well, what? Sightseeing? Rubbernecking? The scene of the crime?
Well, just morbid Stebbins like you homicide types. Compulsion neurosis. Is this the place?
Well, what do you think?
I think that's the desk and the telephone. And that's where the dead body lay. And the live one is Miss Emmy Thorne. How do, Miss Thorne?
Who did you say he was, Sergeant?
A pain in the drain. What have you got to do with this, Goodwin?
Actually, Sergeant, this is one homicide I have no finger in. I'm here on a fishing trip, Miss Thorne. I'm Archie Goodwin of Nero Wolfe's office. May I have a word with you?
No, wait a damn minute.
It's all right, Sergeant. I'm expecting him. He's the one Mr. Drew told me about. Sure, Mr. Goodwin. Let's take a walk.
You can't leave this building, Miss Thorne. What are you fishing for, Goodwin?
If I knew, I might tell you, but don't hold your breath. See you in court, Stebbins. I appreciate your taking the time, Miss Thorne.
It's all right out here on the roof. We haven't actually left the building.
You could say that, yes.
Now, what's all this garbage about letters from Sarah Yare?
You know, I think my tie must be crooked, or I've got a grease spot on my shirt. Mr. Drew resented me. Mr. Gallant was going to heave an ashtray at me, and now you. Why is it garbage to ask a simple question politely?
Maybe I should have said go.
Hmm?
What right have you to march in here and ask any kind of question?
No, none. It's not a right. It's a liberty. I have no right to ask you to have dinner with me this evening, which might not be a bad idea, but I'm at liberty to. And you're at liberty to tell me to go climb a tree, and I'm at liberty to go climb a pole instead. So, have you any letters from Sarah Yare?
Lord, I didn't think I'd last for a year.
What?
This mess, what happened here yesterday, and then Sarah. No, I have no letters from her. You don't have to go climb a tree.
Oh, thanks.
What else?
Nothing, unless you know of something. You know of anyone who might have letters?
I don't. Of course, I'm curious, if you want to call it that. I was very fond of Sarah. And this coming after all her trouble, naturally, I'm wondering who got Nero Wolfe to send you here.
Well, my guess is some friend of Miss Yare's. Someone else might be curious. Well, thanks, Miss Thorne. Oh, and by the way, I'm glad I don't have to climb a tree or a pole.
Well, perhaps when all this is over.
Yes. Yeah, that might be fun. Well, let's go back downstairs, shall we? Bingo, Mr. Wolfe.
Bingo? I sent you on a fishing trip.
Uh-huh. Then the Gallant place is a hatchery. Sarah Yare bought all her clothes there. They all knew her, and it seems They all loved her.
Including Flora Gallant?
She wasn't there. My guess she's down at the DA's office.
Very well. That settles it. You will now go at once
to... No, Mr. Wolfe, that doesn't settle it. Not for me.
What is this, Archie? Insubordination?
I don't care what you call it. It was bad enough me going up there without knowing the score, playing dumber than I am because you sent me out on a limb in the dark. And before I do any more climbing, I want some light. Why did you pick on Sarah Yare? You never go to the theater because they don't make seats big enough.
That is unworthy of you, Archie.
And while I'm on the subject of your mobility, what was so important about that phone book this morning that for the first time in your life you actually crossed the room to my desk and hefted it back to your own? I want to know.
All right.
Thank you.
This morning I told you I thought it possible that the performance here yesterday, getting us on the phone just in time to hear a murder committed, was flummery, designed to hoodwink me.
Yeah, sure. Even Kramer thought that, and we had to ballet dance our way out of it.
So we did. But Kramer's theory that Bianca Voss had been killed earlier and that another woman, not the murderer, was standing beside the corpse waiting for a phone call was patently ridiculous. With all those people around, anyone could have opened the door and stepped in.
But if she wasn't killed at the time we heard those sounds, she must have been killed earlier. Because I phoned right after and had someone sent up to her office.
Precisely. Therefore, Archie, the sounds did not come from there.
Well, then where the hell did they come from?
Miss Gallant did not dial that number.
What?
She dialed the number of some other person she'd persuaded to perform that hocus-pocus. Clear?
When did you figure that out?
I had come to that conclusion before I went to bed last night, and I found it intolerable. I will not be mistaken for a jackass.
No. So you read the item about Sarah Yare at breakfast?
Initially only because you, as a theatrical connoisseur, had once told me you considered her outstanding in her profession.
Yeah, she was.
Then I went on to read that she'd recently been in distress, and also that she had died rather conveniently. So I came down to the office, looked her up in the phone book, and after you left, dialed her number. Here it is. Algonquin 91847.
Well, what did you do that for? She was dead.
I didn't lift the receiver. I merely dialed it to hear it. You and I, Archie, are trained to observe and to register.
Right.
Close your eyes and listen. Take your ears back to yesterday when Miss Gallant was at your phone dialing. Not the first number she dialed. You dialed that later yourself. But the second one, when, according to her, she was dialing the direct line to Bianca Voss's office. Now, listen.
Okay.
Compare.
No, wrong. The first, third, and the fourth.
Now, we'll try again. This will be another number.
Go. I think that's it. Anyway, the first four...
Satisfactory. The first number was Bianca Voss's private line. The one you just recognized was Sarah Yare's number.
I'll be damned.
Good God, what time is it?
Huh? Oh, 5 to 4.
Then instructions for your next errand must be brief. Go to Sarah Yare's address on 13th Street and take a look at her apartment.
You mean break in?
You are checking the telephone. Huh? I need one last detail. Her phone might have been disconnected since this directory came out. I need to know that it's still operable. If I'm to see that whoever tried to make a fool of me regrets it, I must take care not to make a fool of myself. Now on your way.
I won't describe the place. It was too painful. It was a hell of a dump, even for a down and outer. But the phone was there, and it was working. I dialed home to make sure. Fritz?
Is that you, Archie?
Yeah, it's me. Tell Mr. Wolfe the phone works, and I'll be home in 15 minutes.
I can't just now. He's got Inspector Kramer in the office.
Kramer's there?
Came 10 minutes ago. They're having a terrible argument.
I'll be there in 5. I got a hacky who liked to take advantages and made it there in 10. When I let myself in, they were still arguing in the office. So I figured I'd better stay out in the hall and sniff the atmosphere before barging in.
Oh,
you accused me of...
I am stating facts, Wolf. Facts? Yes. You said you've never had any association with those people, but you sent Goodwin up there today with some song and dance about a fishing trip, for God's sake.
Did
yes, you did. He told Sergeant Stebbins it had nothing to do with Bianca Voss, for God's sake.
Who is?
Not And when I asked you politely why you sent him up there, you say you'll tell me in 24 hours.
Perhaps sooner it should help instead of hinder.
Instead of hinder,
Have you any information on the death of a woman named Sarah Gare?
When the doorbell rang, I was still out in the hall eavesdropping, so I about-faced and looked through the one-way glass in the front door. The whole mob was there. Gallant, his sister Flora, Carl Drew, Anita Prince, and Emmy Thorne, the girl whose walk was music. Fritz appeared from the kitchen to answer it, but I grabbed him and marched him into the office with me.
Archie? What? Was that you ringing the bell?
No, sir, but I'm bringing the message. First, the connection you inquired about is operational. Second, 5 fish in the net are worth 10 in the sea.
All right. What gobbledygook is that?
Message received. Fritz?
Yes, sir.
Put the chain bolt on and tell those people they'll be admitted shortly, then stay there.
Yes, sir.
Inspector, Mr. Gallant and his 4 colleagues have just arrived, uninvited and unexpected. You'll have to leave without being seen. So into the front room, please, then duck out when they leave. We'll communicate later.
Like hell they're unexpected, and like hell I'll leave.
Oh.
If you won't let them in, I will.
Mr. Kramer, would I lie so clumsily?
You're damn right you would.
If they'd been expected, would I have invited you in and sat here bickering with you? Either you leave or I do. Admit them, and you'll have them to yourself, and I wish you luck.
You think I'm going to sneak out and sit in your goddamn stoop until you whistle?
No. No, that would be unseemly, wouldn't it? Very well. Get behind the waterfall.
A what?
That picture. You've hidden behind it at least once before and seen and heard all that went on through the spy hole, but you must not disclose yourself until I invite you to do so. Well, Inspector, they're waiting. Are they waiting for you or for me?
Okay, Wolf, we'll try it your way.
All right, Archie. Show them the way to the spy hole and then bring them in.
I demand to know why you sent Mr. Goodwin to ask us about Sarah Gare. What business is it of you?
Mr. Gallant, I'm under no compulsion to reply, and I'm not sure I'm prepared to. Instead, I may ask why Mr. Goodwin's questions, which certainly weren't provocative, so disturbed all of you that you feel impelled to call on me in a body. Now, why?
It's all talk, Mr. Wolfe. Mere talk about Sarah Gare. The wind blowing. Tell him, Miss Prince.
The police have insisted on knowing why he was there and what he wanted, and we don't know.
I think you do. Yet all of you refused to tell the police, I understand. Now, why did you refuse, Miss Thorne?
Because it was none of their business.
And that's what you told Inspector Kramer?
We have a right to know why you sent him.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Why
yes,
we came to the
Oh,
right.
there's no point dragging this out. I'll answer your question, and we'll go on from there. I sent Mr. Goodwin to see you because I suspected I had been gulled in connection with the murder of Bianca Voss, and because I guessed it had some connection with Sarah Gare. By coming here en masse, you've made that guess a conviction, if any doubt remains.
Oh, my God, Ellie. Tais-toi. Mr. Wolfe, we came here for an explanation.
Of what, Mr. Gallant?
No, for an understanding.
Ah, that's better, Mr. Drew. Continue.
We're in trouble, all of us, you know that. And we need your help, and we're ready to pay for it. But first, we have to know what the connection is between Sarah Gare and what happened to Bianca Voss.
No, you don't mean that. You mean you have to know whether I have established a connection. And if so, how? Well, I'm willing to tell you, but first we must get a few things straight. I understand that each and every one of you felt yourselves endangered by Miss Voss's presence and that it would destroy the company. Is that true, Miss Thorne?
Yes, everybody knew it.
All right, that's understood. But beyond that, you, Miss Gallant, had a more intimate concern for your brother. And you, Mr. Gallant, gave her cause. You are no man to truckle, yet you let that Voss woman prevail. Now, presumably you were under severe constraint, were you?
I was under her heel. The police know. They found out some. I told them the rest. Years ago, we were in the French resistance together. In war, you marry a person without really knowing them. And I made that mistake. Later, I found out she was a traitor to France. Perfide. I left her. I changed my name, came to America. And then she finds me, makes demands. I was under her heel.
Well, that won't do, Mr. Gallant. I doubt if it satisfied the police, and it certainly doesn't satisfy me. The fact that she was an unwanted wife might lead you to kill her, but not to let her take charge of your business and indeed your life. What else was there?
Nothing.
Oh, phooey, she knew something about you, didn't she, eh? Some damning evidence?
All right. What does it matter now she's gone? She had 2 brothers. They were both traitors. I killed them. Not during the war, when such things were every day, but after, when it was a crime.
That's better. In a word, she knew you were legally an assassin.
Yes, but I did not assassinate her. You know I did not. At 11:30 yesterday morning, I was...
Hold it, Alec. Mr. Wolfe knows the alibis. He said he's trying to get things straight. Let him.
Well, thank you, Miss Prince. The cat's head is out of the bag, but I've already heard it scratch. What makes you so sure, Mr. Gallant, that Miss Voss was killed at 11:30?
You do. You yourself heard her on the phone.
Oh, but I'm sure she wasn't killed at 11:30.
What?
But I was there.
It's obvious. The woman who spoke to me on the phone called me a gob of fat. Somebody speaking English with such a heavy accent would hardly have the word gob on the tip of her tongue if she had it anywhere. But that's just a trifle. But what about the murderer striking just when the victim was on the phone? Wouldn't it have shown more acumen to wait until she'd hung up? Whoever was talking with her might easily get the wind up and sound the alarm. But there's a more telling detail. Miss Gallant, you didn't dial Plaza 29022, Miss Voss's number. You dialed Algonquin 91847, the number of Miss Serriere.
How did you know?
Oh, I didn't know that yesterday. But I've just learned that Miss Yere's line is still in service. Obviously, you had arranged with Miss Yere to impersonate Bianca Voss, and it's a reasonable...
Mr. Wolfe, you cannot prove that. How do you know she dialed Sarah's number? You could not see the dial from so far away.
Evidently, you discussed it with your sister in some detail. But you're quite right, Mr. Gallant. Neither Mr. Goodwin nor I could actually see the dial. But we can give evidence, and I think it will be persuasive.
What evidence?
It's no good, Alec. You know what we decided.
I'm not sure that we decided right.
I am, Anita. Carl?
Yes, I think so. Yes, Amy?
All right, Flora. It's up to you.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
My God. All right. Mr. Wolfe, we'll pay you to help us. My sister is innocent, and she must not suffer. She was stupid, but she is innocent. She did arrange that exhibition with Serriere, but only Mr. Wolfe to move you, to make you hate Bianca Voss so much that you would undertake the case. Take it for what my sister could afford to pay. When she told me, I knew it was unforgivably stupid, but it was not criminal. She must not suffer.
All right. Miss Gallant, you heard your brother. Is that true? I agree with you, sir, that your sister was stupid, but you are not the one to proclaim it. Miss Yere's performance went beyond abusing me, sir. She enacted a whole melodrama of violent attack and then hung up the phone. That's something corpses do not usually do. Was that her idea? Your sister's stupidity can bow to yours if you expected me to overlook that detail, or worse, missed it yourself.
I'm not stupid, Mr. Wolfe.
Devious, then, beyond my experience.
Devious?
Oh, rusé, subtil.
Never. Suppose, only to suppose, she arranged that comedy too. Suppose even that she killed Bianca. Was that a crime? No. Voss was an evil woman. And for ending her villainy, you would crucify my sister? You know about Serriere, but the police do not. By your word, they can believe Voss died while my sister was here with you. I will pay you. It will be a great service from you. It deserves payment. I will trust you. I will pay you now.
Oh, no, you will not.
Can I not appeal to your charity?
Yes, but not to my cupidity. I will accept no money from someone who at the same moment robs me of my self-esteem. I will not permit a murderer to take me for a simpleton. Now, let us grant that Bianca Voss deserved to die. She was not the only casualty of this sordid affair. Was Serriere also a perfidious woman?
But she killed herself.
No, she didn't. You suggest she was so depressed by the quality of her telephone performance that she forthwith downed a glass of liquor impregnated with cyanide? She spoke with me in the role of Bianca Voss at 11:30 and was discovered dead at 2 o'clock. The person who killed Bianca Voss before 11:30 arranged with Serriere to enact that comedy, as you call it, and later went to her apartment and killed her. So if you ask...
No, that is totally impossible. My sister loved Sarah. She could not kill her. It was stupid.
You came here believing she killed Bianca Voss. That was stupid, if you like. She didn't.
What
What's this, Mr. Wolfe?
What is this?
A game?
Oh, no, Miss Thorne. As a certain policeman said to me yesterday, murder is no joke. Miss Gallant, there is much against you.
Then how did you know I didn't kill her?
Oh, you told me yourself. If you had devised that elaborate humbug, certainly you would have planned how to react at the moment of crisis. Alarm, shock, perhaps even a swoon. But do you remember what happened? When Mr. Goodwin told us what Mr. Drew had told him, you said, in obvious bewilderment, you said, "But how?" And then repeated it, "But how?" Now, if you'd known how you did murder Bianca Voss, you'd have had to be a Shakespeare to invent so simple a line and a Bernhardt to deliver it. But, according to your brother, you're little more than stupid.
Tais-toi, chérie. Je sais.
But if you are innocent, someone else is guilty. The arrangement you had made with Sarah Yare to impersonate Bianca Voss was discovered by someone else, perhaps overheard when you told your brother about it. That someone then persuaded her to add a gruesome climax not in your script, which was only intended to insult me and gain my interest. That someone else killed Bianca Voss. And to make sure her alibi was invulnerable, this someone went to Sarah Yare's apartment and poisoned her with cyanide in a glass of whiskey.
Who is this someone?
Now, all that was done before 2 o'clock. You, Miss Gallant, according to my friend Inspector Kramer, arrived at your brother's place only 15 minutes after I know you'd left here. You had no time for a detour to 13th Street.
I wanted to go to see what had happened,
It's a good thing you didn't, madam. I also learned from Mr. Kramer that you, Mr. Gallant, you, Mr. Drew, and you too, Miss Prince, were under constant surveillance from the time the police arrived. And that leaves you, Miss Thorne.
Leaves me where, Mr. Wolfe?
You were with 3 men in an office downtown from 11:20 until 11:45.
So I have 3 witnesses.
Yes, but according to the police, you arrived at Alec Gallant Incorporated shortly before 3 o'clock. You may be able to account for the interim period. You want to try?
It can't be, Alec. How could you?
I don't have to try. I don't like your games, Mr. Wolfe, and I don't think I'll play.
I didn't think you would. I won't be playing either, actually. The rest is up to Inspector Kramer, who's been following the moves and may now... Grab her, Archie!
Don't climb a tree.
Okay, Goodwin, I'll take over.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
No, let me talk to her. Emmy, I have loved you. You killed Sarah?
Yes, I killed her.
Then you heard us that day. You heard me tell Flora. You found out I was already married to me.
Yes, I heard you.
And you knew I couldn't marry you, so you killed her.
She was killing you. I did something about it.
I understand. Because I loved you. And maybe you killed her because you loved me. But then, you killed Sarah. Why?
You don't understand a thing, do you?
And worse, when I tell you and the others what my sister has done, you accept it. You allow us to accept it, that my sister has killed Bianca. Look at me.
I am looking at you, Alec. What am I supposed to see? I don't think you could ever love anyone but yourself. My mistake.
All right, Inspector Kramer, she's all yours.
Take it easy, Miss Thorne. We're going for a walk.
Emmy Thorne. Oh, it's too bad. I almost felt sorry for her walking out that way. When she walked like music, all right. But it just wasn't my kind of tune.
Starring in today's episode were Mavor Moore as Nero Wolfe, Don Franks as Archie Goodwin, and Cease Linder as Inspector Kramer. Joy Coghill was Flora Gallant, Nani Griffin, Anita Prince, Richard Monette, Alex Gallant, Vivian Reese, Emmy Thorne, Murray Westgate, Carl Drew, James Morris, Stebbins, and Frank Perry was Fritz. Music was composed and conducted by Don Gillis. Technical operations, John Jessup. Sound effects, Bill Robinson. Production assistant was Nancy McElveen, and casting consultant, Ann Weldon Tate. Murder is No Joke was written by Alan Osborne and produced and directed in Toronto by Ron Hartman. We hope you've enjoyed this last episode of the 13-week Nero Wolfe series.